So, all right, we've gone through a little bit about the first step, the orientation process. And now this is an interesting one because as I was, looking and reading through some of these, they might be obvious, but they're not, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, being clear about your mobility or assistance needs, right? So when we're talking about that, you really need to describe what is, but going back to your support plan and really kind of talking about them. And there's some things that you're flexible on and some things you're not.
right,
And you need to be clear about what you're flexible on or not. Do you prefer your routine to be done in a certain way? Do you like your hair done first and then your body and then brush your teeth at the end? Or do you care? Right? As long as the person does all of them, maybe
Yes.
you're perfectly fine with that.
right,
But be clear.
yes. How? So you're talking about being clear. Is it, verbally telling, showing a little bit? Are there some other tricks that you, through personal experience?
Yeah, through personal experience, it really is just doing it with them. Again, having that trainee with me, showing them how I like to do it,
Right.
is a good way to do it.
Good.
The other aspect is, just some people get them to write it out. So as you go through the routine, that you actually get them to write down what comes first, second, and third. It depends what kind of personality you have. If you don't mind repeating, you have to remember they're new, and when they're new, they're not going to remember all of the steps.
And it is a training process here
It's
too.
a training process, and a lot of people say, "I know if I like the person or not," right out of after being together for a day.
Yep.
That's very true, and you got to follow your gut in some ways. But when it comes to knowing your routine, there's so many components to your routine,
Right.
and you do need to be patient, and you need to give them a good week or so to get to know your routine. Some people take 2-3 weeks before they get to know a routine, especially if there's different components to it. You got to remember where the supplies are. You got to remember where these things are. What comes first? What comes second?
Yep.
So try to, if you have verbal issues and not able to verbalize it,
Sure.
Having it written down in advance can be a good way to do it as well. I have some really close friends that do that. They just have, here's my shower routine. This is the order I like.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to verbalize it because I have a speech impediment maybe. But here is how I like it in the routine that I like it. So the trainee has shown them how to do it, but now there's this piece of paper that gives them a reminder when to do it.
The next one here is one of the things that we were talking about earlier on, to be very clear about what is not obvious. Is because it's obvious to you as an individual. It is not obvious to other people.
Yeah, and medications, again,
just the medication parts.
Oh, sorry.
I was jumping ahead. Let's talk about medications. Oh, let's talk about medications.
Sorry. That's what you were talking about.
No.
So the medications wise, being clear about your medications, letting them know where they are. Ultimately, you really need to know your medications, right? Number one, quite often for me, I have my medications into 2-3 different spots. Actually, I know a lot of people keep everything all together.
Right.
But if I know that I want specific medication and they go to the wrong drawer, I automatically know they're grabbing the wrong one. Right. However, bubble packs are a great way to do it if you're somebody that and they don't cost that much in regards to putting into a bubble pack. So if you're taking quite a few different medications, they can even do vitamins and stuff nowadays, Fernando, and put it into bubble packs for you. So these kinds of things. What are bubble packs?
No, I know what bubble packs are. No, but what's the whole policy around administering medications?
Ultimately, you're the one responsible. So you are able to have your assistant help you take your medication, put them in your mouth, drink it, that kind of stuff. But on the Cecil program, it's expected that you're able to direct all of those things.
Gotcha.
So that's why you don't need a nurse or anything like that.
Right. Okay.
If you're somebody who has a bit forgetful or may have some cognitive issues and things, this is where the bubble pack really comes in, and where it says the day of the week and the times and everything, right? So
the bubble caps, you can get all that done at your local pharmacy. Most local pharmacies.
Exactly.
And like you said, it's for us for a minimal cost, really, but it's an important bit.
Absolutely. So yeah, so being clear about what is not obvious, right? Things. It really varies depending on you as a person, to what's obvious to you and what's obvious to me, right? What's interesting is that laundry, for example, right? Most people know that you don't put colors and whites together.
Most.
Right? But not everyone does, unfortunately, that it's not okay to leave wet laundry in the machine all day long until the next day to throw in the dryer. It's definitely a little bit smelly. So these things, are obvious to maybe you and me, but not to someone else. Perhaps their family members take care of the laundry, right? So that's why they don't know about it. So I do talk about those kinds of things a bit.
Sorry, I was going to say, talking about that, but for me, I was thinking from the disability standpoint, right? Because it's we all, this is our world, so it's not, we just know it. But for someone who's a brand new person as taking on this role, it's not obvious to them. So those are the sort of things also that can be really clear to them, right?
Yeah.
Because if you talk about those and get those sort of questions out of the way at the beginning, they won't become a problem later on. Yeah. Or they won't become an issue later on. So.
Yeah, Fernando, that's a really good point. And even from muscle spasms to your disability, I think this is an important point, that, again, it depends on if you're hiring somebody with lots of experience or somebody that doesn't have any experience, if you're somebody with a spinal cord injury, I'm not sure where you're at in regards to your level of comfortableness in regards to talking about your injury. But you know what? That's going to come up. The employee is going to ask at some point. And some may not ask, but sometimes being straight up and saying, hey, this is my scenario, this is what's happened to me, puts everybody in the same place. They'll start sharing information about themselves, and the relationship starts to open up, right? Kind of thing. So it doesn't mean you have to, ultimately your assistant's there to do a specific component, but the more you make it human, the better it'll be.
But it's also making their job easier because you're talking about all these sort of things, right?
Yeah, the leg muscle spazzing out, or be careful of your leg because my leg might shoot out and break yours.
Exactly.
Those kinds of things happen, right?
One of the last point here is that was pretty funny, because this is a direct quote taken out of the manual that I'm talking about. Right. I'm not a morning person. Some people are just grumpy in the morning. It's just that's the way they are.
Yeah, don't come in and ask me a whole bunch of questions. Come in and give me my.
Well, that was your point.
Come in and give me a cup of coffee first, and we can start talking about stuff.
Give me 10 minutes after the coffee kicks in.
I want to say this works both ways, right?
It does, yes.
But you know what? Let the employee know this is kind of the quirk that we were talking about earlier too, right? Definitely. What is it that doesn't make you, if you hire somebody that's a chatty person and they're going to talk, just say, look, in the morning when you first come in, I can tell you're a talker and you have a lot of great things to say. Just don't do it in the morning. Let's wait until a little later, right? So, but people appreciate it when you're straight up. Yes. But don't let it build, right? So if that person is chatty and you're not, and you're grumpy, don't wait until you just want to explode.
And that's the whole point of this one is be clear.
Yeah, be really
talk
clear
about it.